Hello everyone and welcome back to Superboy Beyond. This is take 3 now, watching special effects. The first time we tried, we got halfway through the episode and Chris's microphone stopped working. Second time, we only got about 30 seconds in, so at least that time we didn't lose much. But let's try again. So this is season 3, episode 12, special effects. Hopefully you've seen one of our commentaries before, because I can't be bothered to go through it a third time. So I'll count in 3, 2, 1, play, and we'll see you then. 3, 2, 1, play. So here we go.
Okay. So take 3.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So
I do remember what we was talking about during the opening credits, at least now. It's great that they brought back Andy, because most of the time, as soon as a character was gone, that was it. But here we are.
Yep. And I'm glad that Andy got a chance to have his last hurrah, we'll say.
Yeah. And, I think maybe the writers, with the benefit of hindsight from season 2, they probably saw that the best Andy episodes were the ones where we actually saw who he really is, not the sort of face that he put forward to the rest of the world. Because let's face it, Andy is almost 90% bravado. The 10% that isn't Andy bravado, that's probably who he actually is.
Yes.
Underneath,
And I would say if this episode was aired just after Programmed for Death, it would have made a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's a continuation of the same kind of character development that Programmed for Death brought around. And episodes, The Haunting of Andy McCallister isn't the best episode, but there's some character development in that as well. Not as much. I think Programmed for Death is definitely Andy's best episode, but
yeah,
I'm glad it's that sort of episode that they tried to do this time. Because if they just tried to do another Andy silly comedy episode where he's a little bit obnoxious and all of that, maybe I wouldn't have quite as fond an opinion on this one.
Yep. Again, very atmospheric the way this episode starts. Obviously, perfect direction by David Grossman, as usual.
I mean, I can't think of a single episode David Grossman directed that's not well directed. Sometimes the scripts can let him down a little bit, but unfortunately with TV, when you make a season that's 25 episodes long, you're going to have some slightly dodgy episodes, aren't you?
Yeah, you're going to have some dogs.
Even the best seasons of Star Trek The Next Generation, during its the best period of the show, there's still some pretty terrible episodes in those seasons.
Yep. And
love his makeup.
Yep.
I love that it's giving enough movement in the face that you can actually see Barry Myers' performance coming through. Barry Myers, as the viewers know, played Bizarro in the other episodes, so it's very cool seeing him as a different style character. Yeah. And we talked about when we did, what was it? Not the basement, was it? The lair, I think it was.
The lair.
Yeah, and like the creature effects on that. One thing that we said was like maybe some of the wounds, I wish they'd gone in and added a bit of sort of a glossy effect just to make them look slightly wet. Barry Myers' character Caliban here, yeah, they did that. They did exactly that, and it's appreciated.
Yep. Episodes written by Elliot Anderson, who we've mentioned is a one-off writer for this show.
Yeah, he wrote a couple of episodes of the remake of Dragnet that came out in the late 80s, early 90s, and he did a few episodes of some other things that I'm not familiar with at all. I mean, even Dragnet, I only know the name. I've never actually seen an episode.
Mm. And it's very interesting, Clark and Lana finally get their big moment to shine as field agents,
Mm.
and it's just really Jackson being a sadistic
Yeah.
SOB.
It was around this scene where the recording went bad the last time, so I will talk again. I really like this kid's performance. Like, he's not the greatest actor in the world, but he's giving it absolutely everything he's got. And I just kind of love it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he's not playing this with any sort of hint of fear. You know, a lot of early actors, you can tell the nervousness, it comes through in the performance, but he's just, yeah, he's on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of childhood bravado here in the way he's acting.
And he is so irritating. Like, don't get me wrong, he is so annoying, but obviously that's what he's supposed to be. That's obviously why not Andy. It's why Jackson
Jackson.
sent Clark and Lana, yeah.
Yep. And you were
If
mentioning right when we lost the volume the last time
yeah.
that you hope that that poster is still in existence somewhere.
Yeah, the screaming room. If anybody knows what happened to that poster, I would hope that somebody in the art department just got to take it home at the end of the episode. But yeah, if that poster still exists and anybody out there happens to know what happened to it, I'd love to know. What's
Or
the
if
condition of it
anybody
even?
has it and they can send a scan of it to Tom so that he can recreate it.
Yeah, you know, if somebody has it, even just a photo of it, as long as I can take it into Photoshop and clean up any imperfections, I'll get one printed for my wall.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the
And
kind of thing, honestly, that I wish they would sell as merchandise for the show. You know, they could get it signed by Barry Myers. Like, I'd buy one.
yeah, I'd buy one.
Yeah.
Okay,
I do
this
love how
was
this episode, it's almost half cartoon and half horror. Like, it's a
yeah,
really weird combination. Like, her performance is very sort of cartoonish.
yep. And our antagonist here, which is the character of Max von Norman Jr., the special effects master, is played by Richard Marcus, who's had a very storied career in Hollywood. One of the first things I ever saw him in was Enemy Mine with Dennis Quaid.
Hmm.
But he went on a few years after this to play the character of Mr. Raines on The Pretender.
I mean, I've heard the name The Pretender. I couldn't tell you anything about the show. I have just pulled up his IMDb though. He was in um Tremors, the original Tremors movie.
Yep.
And so yeah, I'm sure I know him from that, although it has been a very long time since I've seen Tremors 1. I don't remember very much about it except that Kevin Bacon, I think, is in it.
Yeah. The only one of the Tremors movies that Kevin Bacon actually is in.
Okay, so at least I know that much. Oh, and he was in the 2000 version of Dune. Although it's called Dune 2000, but it actually released in 1998, so that's a bit weird. Oh
Yeah.
well. I guess Dune 1998 isn't a good enough title. I do think it's one thing I've always found hilarious in this episode. That one guy who just said, get me an actress who can actually act." I think it's hilarious that this guy is the one saying it because I don't believe his performance in any way. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the actor, but I don't believe his performance.
And here's our first shot of Andy. You know, here's the thing. He walks up and he shakes Clark's hand. Where's the hug? You know,
Yeah, they were such close friends by the end of season 2. You would think a hug would be in order.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe because he wasn't coming back, they didn't want to show them being too close in case the audience is like, well, why is Andy never return if they're such good friends or something like that? Who knows? I'm just clutching at straws now.
Yeah. And now this guy's about to get his.
I will say I think his performance was slightly better in this scene. Earlier on, not so much, but maybe he's one of those performers that's, better at playing the comedic scenes than dramatic stuff. And I would love to know where all the creatures from this episode came from. Because they've got to just be, costumes and stuff that the studio had. There's no way they made these things, obviously.
Yeah. I will say this. The blood that's on the script pages is a little too red.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks a little bit fake. But, even Hollywood movies sometimes get blood wrong. I always think of Saw 3D, where all the blood looks like Pepto-Bismol, just purely because they had to lighten it up because it was a 3D movie and it would get darkened. I don't know what the problem with having slightly darker looking blood would have been, to be honest. I would have just gone with that. And I do like this fight scene just because that creature looks so good. Like, it must be from a movie or something, surely. If anyone out there knows what this creature came from, because the way the face moves and all of that and the eyes, like, that thing is awesome.
Yeah, and the creature itself is kind of like a cross between a hamster and a lion.
Yeah. Like, if that's just a creature from some B movie that was shot at the studio, like, whoever designed that outfit, like, all the animatronics and stuff in that face, like, that's really solid work. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if when we get to the end of this episode, it says, like, creature effects by Stan Winston or something like that.
I don't know. I don't know if they're quite Stan Winston level effects.
I don't know. I think that one looked pretty damn good. Who did the effects on the thing?
That was Rob Bottin.
Maybe it was one of his because it looked vaguely. When the dog starts transforming into the thing and it's just really, I don't know. There was a little bit of that sort of.
Well, actually, the dog scene was actually done by Stan Winston.
Oh, was it? Oh, never mind then. I love that T-shirt.
Yeah, I think it's either a werewolf kind of thing or it's a Freddy Krueger thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the snakehead creature. I don't know what that's from, but I recognize it from something, and I've never been able to place what it's from. Probably some sci-fi thing, since I'm guessing it's just an alien.
Yeah.
I'd laugh if it's from something like Space Precinct or something like that. Because it would have to be something I've not seen in a very long time.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be Space Precinct. They would have had to have had that shipped from the UK just for one episode.
True. I'll tell you what, though, the sort of snakehead thing, the way it all goes around like that, it looks vaguely Ferengi. It looks vaguely like the way Ferengi's ears go down into their sort of eyebrows.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fly creature looks pretty decent. It's not the best, but not bad. I mean, we know that by this point, they had moved over to Universal Studios for filming. I think it was Disney for the first year or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So by this point, I'm guessing all of those creatures are just Universal monsters from various movies and stuff. So if anybody knows where those creatures originated, I would love to know, because I'd love to see those creatures in other things.
And I loved this whole interaction with Andy here. Where he says, "What do you mean you don't remember where you saw a monster from? I see monsters in my dreams. Come on."
Always loved that shot where Caliban raises his head up.
Mm.
And yeah, they wouldn't notice him, would they?
Oh. For two reasons. One, it's darkened in there, and there's a lot of monster masks.
Exactly.
Two,
He's just, it's like the E.T. thing. E.T. surrounded by toys. You're not going to notice E.T.
Yeah. And two, they've never seen Caliban before.
No, true. Although you would think Clark could, hear his heartbeat or something like that. But I guess it's one of those things where he filters most things out the majority of the time anyway, so.
Yeah. A few minor comedy moments with Andy here, but they're not overplayed like season 2 it was.
Mm-hmm. And the way that last shot of Andy closed out, I wouldn't be surprised if that was slightly longer, that shot, because it looked like they sort of cut away right before he was about to say something.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me, but it felt like maybe there was a little bit left off there.
Well, I think there's only two people who would actually know that. David Grossman and Ilan Mitchell-Smith.
Yeah. Anybody ever sees him at a con, don't bother asking Ilan Mitchell-Smith, because I doubt he remembers. At this point, fact,
Don't even mention Superboy to him, because he doesn't want to remember it.
I don't know. I think he's happy to remember it. It's just not the thing he wants to focus on, is it?
No.
He'd much rather talk about John Hughes, which is fair enough, I guess, One thing I've got to say for David Grossman, he's always very good at building suspense and atmosphere.
Yeah.
So yeah, people watching may notice that our clothes have changed. Some technical issues that meant the end of this commentary was unusable. So we are back 2 weeks later to finish it.
Yeah. So interesting note, and you were just pointing this out to me when we were getting set up. Andy is wearing a bow tie here.
Yeah, which I don't remember him doing in season 2. I may be wrong.
Yeah. His wardrobe is definitely subdued since season 2.
But it's obvious they're trying to make him more of a Jimmy Olsen type, which almost makes it a shame that he didn't also work at the Bureau for seasons 3 and 4, because if they had him in the sort of Jimmy Olsen role, that could have been interesting.
Yeah.
I've got to say, I do love the costumes on the monsters. I know even the part of the commentary we did a few weeks ago, we probably talked that to absolute death. But seriously, if anybody out there knows what those monsters are from, because I assume they weren't built for Superboy, they're probably from other movies, even if they're just like B movies. But if anybody knows where they were used, let us know, because I want to watch those movies. And, the split in the screen, it's a very simple effect, but I appreciate the fact they actually had real lights on set, casting that blue light onto Stacy, because let's face it, they have altered it with digital effects. You can tell just from there. But the fact they actually thought to put an actual light there just helps sell the entire effect. Uh-oh, Andy's gone.
And they're trying to hide it, but you can tell that those boxes of pizza are Domino's.
Yeah, Yeah, it's just the colours alone. I think they've had the same pizza boxes. Well, obviously since the early 90s at least.
They're a little bigger now, though.
Yeah, people got greedier. I suppose they also need the room for all the various types of stuffed crusts that they do. Yep. Why are we talking about pizza? Let's move on.
That armadillo-like creature is so interesting looking.
Yeah, it's like an armadillo, but it's almost like a cobra head as well. And then there's just the one sort of human fly guy that I assume is a reference to the fly. Oh, yes. And there's Andy and Caliban coming in. Caliban, of course, played by Douglas Myers, who plays Bizarro. Although he did not get to do the voice this time, which is odd. He's actually voiced by Michael Marzello, who was the gangster in, what's his name? Johnny Casanova.
And he was also the voice of the creature from The Power of Evil.
Of course he was, yeah. And there we go. I tell you what, I just had this really funny vision of Andy and the monster just driving down the road. Either they're in a taxi, just driving all the way to this movie producer's house, or Andy's just driving in his convertible. Just imagine the looks they must have got.
Yeah, and knowing Andy, he's probably looking at other drivers saying, "We're going to a costume party at a movie producer's house," and then everybody's looking like,
yeah, oh, makes sense. So that was special effects, which I don't know. I really, really do like this episode. I think it's one of those ones where the creature effects elevate it. The fact that it's a returning role for Andy is always great, just purely because they didn't have to bring him back. They could have done what they did with a load of the other cast members and just never mention him again.
Or mention him once and then that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so
definitely a good episode. As you said, the creature effects elevate it. The return of Andy elevates it. Richard Marcus as our villain, Max von Norman Jr., very good. He's very creepy in it. Mm-hmm. And this is only a couple of years before he started playing Mr. Raines on The Pretender. So it's really a good show by him.
It's funny just looking at him. He reminds me a fair bit of Frank Gorshin. I don't know if we mentioned that in the part of the commentary that was salvageable or not, but yeah, he looks kind of like the actor that played Frank Gorshin in the Adam West Burt Ward.
I think you did mention it, but I don't know if it was in the last part of the beginning part.
Yeah, apologies if I'm mentioning this twice, but maybe at some point we'll do a commentary on that TV movie. I think it's just called Return to the Batcave or something like that, or The Misadventures of Adam and Bert, I think is the subtitle. But I really love that movie. I know it's just a TV movie, but it's genuinely one of my favorite DC films, even though it's not even technically, it's not canon to anything, But
it's just a chance for the two of them to get back together.
Yeah, and part of me wishes, that they were doing those Batman 66 animated movies. I wonder if Adam West would have been okay with the idea of just getting the guy that played him in that movie to continue on so they could keep making movies. I don't know. I would watch an entire animated series with the voices done by the people from that movie. I think they were that good. But the actor that played Max von... What was it?
Max von Norman Jr.
Max von Norman Jr. Yeah, he just looks a lot like the actor they had playing Frank Gorshin. And it kind of makes me want to see him play the Riddler now for some reason, Maybe for season 5 we'll find something for that actor.
Yeah.
But either way, maybe we should just give this one a score now out of 10. I don't think I can go any more than a 7.5, just purely because it's on the season 3 scale, and there are just so many season 3 episodes that are better than this one.
Yeah,
even though I have a great soft spot for it.
Yeah, I would go 7.5 on this. It's a definite here.
Yeah. I could probably be persuaded to up it very slightly, just purely because it's an Andy episode and those creature effects. But I think I'm already being quite generous. It's not the greatest episode, and it's definitely one that was made to save money because they were just shooting on the sound stages that they always shot at, I assume.
Yeah.
But it was a really
the one question that I have though about it is things seem to go really a little too quickly, almost Microboy quickly,
Yeah, right at the end, it's almost like there's a scene missing.
Yeah, a scene or two that explains some things. Because I get it, Andy says to Clark, I've seen that monster before. But why is it that Lana starts snooping around Max von Normand's house?
Yeah, I think we may have just started talking about this when the commentary cut out. I don't know. Yeah, it's almost like there should have just been a scene where either Andy or Clark was already getting suspicious of him, and maybe just have a scene where one of them says, like, since you're going to this party anyway, could you maybe just have a little look around and see if you can find anything that confirms that they're involved?
Yeah.
It would have only needed to be maybe a 30-second to a minute long. But I guess in a TV show where you only get 22 minutes an episode, a minute is a lot of time, I guess. But I wonder how many episodes that was an issue for. Because we've always, we've been theorizing that was an issue with Microboy for quite some time. There's other episodes too where it seems like there's a scene missing. Man, I wish Warner Brothers had actually included some bonus features on the DVD, so maybe we could get some deleted scenes or something. But they didn't put the budget into that DVD release, unfortunately. Either way, 7.5. I think that's about fair. Season 3 it's the best season of the show, in my opinion. So even though this is a very good episode, I don't think it could go any higher than that. I think that's it.
Yep.
Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Not sure what we're going to be watching yet. Although, actually, yes, I do. We're going to watch the first episode of the George Reeves Superman show, which is Superman on Earth. So, we'll be watching that next week.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Viacom.